Morning, everyone. It's great to be back at Promotion Summit. It's definitely my favorite mobile event, particularly because of the people it brings together and also because of how intimate it is. Obviously, much bigger venue and much nicer venue this time. Yeah, really great job on another event so far. So just as an introduction, I am Salman. I look after the EMEA team at Sensor Tower. And I'm sure for anyone in this space, you're probably already aware, we've had some pretty big news. We acquired Data AI a few weeks ago, and I very quickly want to run through that. We feel this is a really, really great move for the overall industry. As I don't know which one I'm on. That one? Oh, this one. As we sort of think about the strengths of both companies, Sensor Tower has always been a company that's largely had its strengths on the acquisition side and the advertising side. Data AI has had a world-class data science team and data sort of engine, I guess. And effectively bringing these two companies together, we think is a very powerful and meaningful move for the industry, mostly because as data becomes harder and harder to, I think rightly, compile, both companies coming together should hopefully mean we have better insights, better forecasting, and also a more 360 complete view of the industry. So moving on into those insights, last time I was here, the topic was winning the downturn because we were seeing an overall decline, and actually the first ever decline in percentage growth in the App Store in its history. We're now seeing that actually start to change, and we're seeing a point at which growth is once again positive. A lot of what's changed since that downturn in 2023, where we saw that decline in mobile growth, was actually that gaming is now pretty much flatlining. And it's the first time it's flatlined. It's declined, and that was a correction for post-pandemic, but it's now flatlining. The really big takeaway here, and I think it's good news for a lot of the people in the crowd, is there is more and more comfort, more and more resilience in the non-gaming space. We're seeing nearly 20% growth and a propensity for older demographics and non-traditional mobile demographics to actually start spending in-app and being very comfortable spending in-app. AI has also made a huge play, has been very successful, and there's been a big play from a lot of publishers in this space. The charts that you're seeing on the right-hand screen are actually spitting out data from AI chatbots and AI image generators. Both are, as you can see, nearly making over $100 million in this space, having only really just launched in the last 2 years or so. I think if we ignore ChatGPT, which of course is the main sort of AI chat app that people talk about, it's very important to stress that AI being integrated into apps is something that we should all be thinking about. Over 50 apps have surpassed over $1 million in consumer spend in just the last year, and over 100 of those have reached 1 million downloads. So this is something that people are leaning on more and more as part of their mobile experience, and we're seeing that anything that's going that steeply up and to the right is something worth tracking for sure. The big players are already doing this. Snap, Duolingo, Slack, Calm are already integrating AI very, very heavily into their features. Duolingo especially, their top monetizing item is an AI-centric tool, so that's something to bear in mind. What we're going to talk about today as well, just from coming through that sort of, I guess, slowdown in spend in 2023 and where we're seeing success now, is monetization strategies, and then also a diversification of where spend takes place. And Grindr is a really good example to look at here. Grindr's been around for a long, long time, and it's always had really great retention and session numbers, but it's never really monetized particularly well, at least versus its other competitors. However, if we look at the last year or so, it's the first time it's ever surpassed Tinder for revenue per download. Now, of course, it's not making as much money as Tinder in terms of overall revenue, but per download, it's making more than Tinder. And the reason for this is an approach that they found had worked very well for them, which was trying to monetize users tracking who can't afford monthly payments. And it follows a kind of TikTok methodology where they realized their demographic couldn't afford monthly subscriptions, and they sort of moved into the micropayment space. What we saw Grindr do is move over into a weekly subscription model, And as we can look at that ranking of spend, it's now their second most successful line item in in-app purchases, and it's targeting a completely different demographic that they weren't actually previously targeting. So that monthly user base has remained as active as it was in terms of subscriptions, but that, I guess, less well-off base or that more revenue conscious base has now been targeted very successfully to the point where it monetizes extremely well, and that subscription option is something that we are seeing more and more of. If we look at the top performing apps, where revenue is growing at a much higher rate than anywhere else, weekly subscriptions or micropayments seem to be the strategy that are working alongside that monthly line item. Yazoo is another really interesting example of where revenue growth has taken place off the back of that slowdown last year. Their strategy was very different. They focused mostly on a diversification in advertising and a multi-channel strategy. If we look at their performance right there, they've spent the last couple of months focusing on ASA and also focusing on new channels and new in-app advertising efforts. And I think that's something really, really powerful because previously a lot of those competitors like MyFitnessPal had always been the apps that generally had monetized better than them. But optimizing ASA, particularly when advertising has become harder and harder to do, targeted advertising has become harder and harder to do, has been something that's worked very well for them. They've also split their spend across multiple networks. Previously, they were very, very focused on a few larger networks. They've moved over to some of the networks, I think, previously that were very popular and mobile-centric, and that's worked very well. So a move over to InMobi especially, but also a higher proportion of spend in AdMob has actually helped drive that growth. What they've also done extremely well is start to target by audience and target their competitors' apps. So we have a feature called cross-app usage, which allows you to see what other apps your customers are using. And what we see more and more is Yats have done a really great job in either targeting their competitors directly from in-app advertising or targeting the types of apps their competitors' customers are using. And again, this is kind of evidence in what you're seeing here with cross-app usage across that period. If we look at Fast Stitch, Weight Watchers, MyFitnessPal, we can see that with Fast Stitch, with Weight Watchers, they have a 73% overlap and a 60% overlap with Weight Watchers. Effectively, this is them directly targeting their competitors and making sure that they're placing adverts in the vicinity of that user base, and then obviously leading with product after that. So it's been extremely targeted, but I do want to say, in a world where spend is either going to go up or going to be smarter, they've done a really, really good job on being smarter. And that cross-app usage piece is very key because they are now, as my friend Will likes to say, sort of, fishing where the fish are. And that's what they've done really, really well here. That's everything on my side. I tried to keep it short. This time I always overrun. So this time it's a lot shorter, but thank you for your time. We have a stand if you want to come and chat to us. We can talk about the acquisition, we can talk about what we do, and run through these insights some more as well. But thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day today.